The Oppo R7 and R7 Plus hands-on Oppo knows that you always split faces, so the new R7 comes in two versions. The 5 Oppo R7 and 6 R7 Plus share a lot. Both are metal-clad knights, with 1080p AMOLED screens. They shoot 13MP images through Schneider-Kreuznach certified optics, and they offer practical dual SIM connectivity. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo is proud to have covered the two phones almost entirely in metal and kept the duo quite thin. 6.3mm for the R7 and 7.8mm for the R7 Plus. The company also implemented some flagship camera features into the duo, including name brand lens and phase detection autofocus. Both are powered by the same chipset, Snapdragon 615, and run Color-ified Android 5.1 Lollipop. Despite the premium build and camera, the two remain quite practical with two SIM slots, one of which can be occupied by a microSD card if you can't go without one of the SIM cards. The VOOC charging tech will fill the battery to 3/4 in just half an hour. The Oppo R7 at a glance. Body, 6.3mm thick metal unibody screen, 5 AMOLED, 1080p resolution 445 ppi, Gorilla Glass 3 OS, Android 5.1 Lollipop, Color OS 2.1 chipset, Snapdragon 615, octa-core Cortex-A53, 3GB RAM, Adreno 405 storage, 16GB. The microSD card up to 128GB can go into the SIM slot camera. 13MP sensor, Schneider-Kreuznach lens, phase detection and autofocus video, 1080p at 30fps selfie camera, 8MP connectivity, dual SIM micro and nano SIM, LTE 150 Mbps, Wi-Fi/G/N battery, 320 mAh, VOOC fast charging, 75% in 30 minutes. Oppo R7 and R7 Plus. The Oppo R7 Plus is more than just a plus size version of the R7. The Oppo shaped the side bezels down to nothing for a more attractive design. It's not small by any means at 203G. It has a more advanced camera with an RGBW sensor and laser autofocus. Also it offers better security with a fingerprint sensor. The Oppo R7 Plus at a glance. Body, 7.8mm thick metal unibody screen, edge-to-edge 6 AMOLED, 1080p resolution 367 ppi Gorilla Glass 3 OS, Android 5.1 Lollipop, Color OS 2.1 chipset, Snapdragon 615, octa-core Cortex-A53, 3GB RAM, Adreno 405 storage, 32GB. The microSD card up to 128GB can go into the SIM2 slot camera, 13MP ISOCELL RGBW sensor, Schneider-Kreuznach lens, phase detection and laser autofocus, dual LED video, 1080p at 30fps selfie camera, 8MP connectivity, dual SIM micro and nano SIM LTE 150 Mbps, Wi-Fi/B/G/N/AC battery, for 100 mAh, VOOC fast charging miscellaneous, fingerprint sensor. Oppo R7 Plus. The Oppo R7 Plus is the larger of the two models announced today, and despite the identical chipset and RAM, there are plenty of differences that set it apart. The Oppo R7 Plus. Obviously, the 6-inch display is the most readily noticeable upgrade, but the higher screen-to-body ratio means that the smartphone is not all that much larger than the R7, as the jump from 5 to 6 inches would suggest. At 158x82x 7.8mm it's more or less the same size as the 6-inch Huawei P Mate 7, and 1/10 of a millimeter shorter than the 5.5-inch Infinix 6 Plus. The R7 Plus is, however, quite heavy at 203G, a good 10% more than the Mate 7. The Oppo R7 Plus. 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 The design language is similar on the two Oppo models, with the finely crafted all-metal unibody looking stylish and classy. The Oppo is keen to point out that the magnesium aluminum alloy body has undergone 48 polishing processes, and while we weren't there to count them, the device sure feels premium to hold. Interestingly, the position of the power button and the volume rocker is mirrored on the Plus model, compared to the regular R7. Additionally, the R7 Plus comes with on-screen buttons, as opposed to the capacitive ones in the R7's bottom bezel, thus keeping the device relatively compact for the screen diagonally. The Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus design accents the 6-inch display, uses an AMOLED panel of 1080 x 1920 pixel resolution. The highlight here is the edge-to-edge feature, though it's less impressive than we expected. While it does look the part with the display off, firing it up reveals the pitch black frame surrounding the lid area. The bezels are there, only they're underneath the 2.5D curved glass. The Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus display and bezels. Moving on to more practical considerations, the display is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. It's still reasonably sharp, though the 367 ppi density is nothing spectacular by today's standards. Owing to the inherent qualities of the AMOLED tech, the panel provides great contrast and viewing angles. Colors are vivid and it's quite bright as well. We took the device outside to see how it fares in the sunlight and we have nothing but praise for it at this point. The Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus AMOLED display is great outside. The Oppo R7 Plus comes with a fingerprint sensor on the back, much like the one on the Mate 7. Located below the camera module, it's in a natural position for access with your index finger. The Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus, Oppo R7 Plus fingerprint sensor. There's a multitude of camera features too. The R7 Plus comes with a 13MP ISOCELL RGBW sensor, unlike the conventional RGB imager found in the R7. The Oppo claims that the sensor outputs images with 78% less noise and can pick up 32% more light, though we haven't been able to verify how it performs just yet. On top of the phase detection autofocus in the R7, the Plus model also brings laser autofocus as well. The dual LED flash is another improvement over the single LED unit of the R7. Like its smaller sibling, the Oppo R7 Plus boots the company's latest Color-ified 2.1, which is based on Android 5.1. It runs fluently on the Snapdragon 615 and the 3GB of RAM provide ample room for multitasking. Design: the Oppo R7 is the more compact of the two devices and comes with a more traditional look. But just because it is outshined by the bigger R7 Plus, doesn't mean it is void of merits itself. The device boasts a slick and clean all-metal exterior, and with its more conventional screen size it will probably appeal to a wider audience. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo refers to the design as linism and even compares the arts to those on a violin. It is clear that a lot of emphasis is placed on elegance. Frankly, we have to agree that the R7 is a charmer. It is made with excellent taste and a lot of moderation, but we will refrain from going into poetic descriptions ourselves. The Oppo R7 employs a unibody design and what is referred to as aircraft-grade aluminum alloy that has undergone the painstaking 48-step polishing process to achieve the final result. The phone is available in silver and gold colors. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7. The Oppo R7 looks quite exquisite. The smaller R7 clearly has a wider bezel than its sibling with its 5.0-inch Full HD display surrounded by white stripes with a 2.5D finish, but it also has a pretty prominent black bezel around the display itself. Seeing how it uses AMOLED technology, this outer frame is nearly invisible when the display is off, but once turned on, it is pretty apparent. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7. The display looks great both outdoors and indoors. As long as we are on the topic of display, the 5.0-inch AMOLED unit seems to be a solid choice. It offers a superb viewing experience with excellent side viewing angles. Colors are nice and vibrant and the picture is very sharp at 445 ppi and with a nice contrast. We also can't fail to mention that the R7 is quite slim and definitely fits snugly in the hand. It is 143 mm tall and 71 mm wide with a thickness of only 6.3 mm. It weighs thin at 147 grams, which is definitely justifiable, considering all the metal. The 2.5D glass and body curves really bring out the best in the design and create a convincing illusion of an even thinner body. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7 Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo R7. The Oppo R7 is gold controls. There is nothing really out of the ordinary regarding the controls on the R7 and the R7 Plus as well. Whereas competitors like ZTE are going crazy with new and innovative gestures, the Oppo has stuck to basics. Rather inexplicably, though. The two devices have most of their buttons swapped. On the R7 the power button is on the left and volume rockers on the right, while the R7 Plus has them the other way around. The buttons themselves are nicely rounded and also made of metal. Placement is also convenient in terms of height. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 buttons are nice to the touch and convenient going round the device. On top, we find a 3.5mm audio jack and not much else. There is also a small plastic insert on the top frame, presumably for an antenna. Still, it works as a nice little color accent. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 a clean top on the left-hand side. We only find the power button. The rest of it is absolutely empty, which looks very clean and neat. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 an equally simple left side. The right side offers much of the same. The volume rockers are nicely defined with a groove in the middle and are also quite convenient to use. The only other thing found here is the card tray. The two SIM cards go on the same tray and you have to choose between using two SIM cards or popping in a microSD card in place of one. This definitely saves room and removes needless slots for many, but those wanting dual SIM and storage expansion will be disappointed. The cradle itself fits nicely into the bezel, making the side nice and flush. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 nicely defined volume rockers. The bottom is equally clean. There is a USB port in the middle and a microphone slightly to the left of it. The only other thing are two plastic inserts. Once again, a nice little color accent. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 mostly empty bottom side as well. The back side of the Oppo R7 is a little busier. Naturally, it houses the 13MP camera, which occupies the top left corner, along with a single LED flash. On a side note, a lot is missing from the camera itself, compared to the R7 Plus. There is no dual-tone flash, no laser focus, and the sensor is different as well. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 the 13MP camera. Besides the camera, there is also a secondary microphone here. At the bottom, there is a speaker grill and quite a bit of text. The Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 Handson, the Oppo R7 speaker grill. The top and bottom of the R7 have quite noticeably plastic inlays. These, of course, are necessary for the radios to work, seeing how the rest of the body is metal, but perhaps Oppo should have went with something more subtle, like the patterns of the Infinix 6 or the HTC One Meter 9. On the other hand, it doesn't really take that much off the overall impression. We really like the little dimple on the bottom, which is intended to prevent the rear speaker from getting muffled easily. These sort of tiny details really do matter in everyday use, and it is evident that Oppo has invested a lot of effort into the R7. Hardware and performance. The Oppo R7 shares most of its internals with its bigger sibling, the R7 Plus. This strikes as kind of odd, as both essentially offer mid-range chips. They are powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 615 Social MSM 8939 with an octa-core CPU clocked at 1.5 GHz. This is nowhere near as powerful as most current flagships, but should still suffice for fluid experience. The graphics department is run by an Adreno 405, which should breeze through casual games, but might struggle with heavier titles. Speaking of which, we will update you with the exact performance numbers as soon as we manage to get through all the benchmarks and work the results out, so check back if you are interested in the synthetic tests. The Oppo R7 Handson. The Oppo has opted to put 3 GB of RAM in both the R7 and R7 Plus. During the presentation, memory was singled out as a major bottleneck in today's smartphones, and 3 GB should remedy the fact. This does seem enough, but we still hope the mid-range processor won't throttle overall performance too much. The rest of the spec sheet for the Oppo R7 also includes 16 GB of onboard memory and an array of sensors: compass, accelerometer, gyroscope and proximity sensor. Both devices also have the benefit of Oppo's own VOOC fast charging technology. It definitely stands out among the competition. And while we are on the topic of power, the R7 has a non-removable battery, just like its bigger sibling, but it is quite less spacious with a capacity on 2320 mAh instead of the whopping 3100 mAh on the R7 Plus. Oppo R7 Handson, Oppo R7, Oppo R7 Handson, Oppo R7 ready for work. We also need to mention that both phones have LTE connectivity, albeit only for one of the two SIM cards. The other one only has 3G speeds at its disposal. Software. The Oppo R7 is more than just the pretty shell. It shines in the software department as well. Oppo's own Color OS has come a long way, and the new version 2.1 is prettier and faster than ever. It is now based on Android Lollipop, which brings an array of new features, as well as some new styling choices. Everything is now flatter and more vibrant. Using the OS just seems more dynamic. Oppo R7 Handson, Oppo R7 Lollipop-based Color OS 2.1. The design also extends beyond the built-in apps and features an icon pack for about 200 popular applications, so everything appears nice and uniform. Performance improvements are supposedly there as well. Oppo boasts a reduced boot time, from 31 seconds in Color OS 2.0 to just 19 seconds in the new version. The platform is also said to be optimized for faster system app launches. Oppo has also done some optimizations for several popular third-party applications, which should be a lot more fluid.